Hi there, I'm Helen Loughbrown from IHG, and I'm going to speak to you today on keeping guests and hotels safe in turbulent times. The short video clip that we're about to see will demonstrate that even here in Europe, we too can experience volatility and instability. And you will also see that hotels the world over remain in the sights of those who would do us harm. Let's take a look.
This is how a regular Friday night in Paris, at a football match, a rock concert, and round the corner at the local restaurant, exploded into a waking nightmare.
The Belgian capital, Brussels, is in a security lockdown today after authorities received specific information about the risk of a terrorist attack similar to Paris. The country's Prime Minister, Charles Michel, said there was a fear that several individuals with arms and explosives could launch an attack in several places.
A double-decker bus in flames on Tottenham High Street. Shops, too, were set ablaze by rioters.
You know, when I served in the British Army, providing security and force protection was relatively simple. We put up our barriers, we armed our troops, and then we fired upon our enemies. It was simple. But security in hotels is really different and requires a much more subtle and nuanced set of skills. We face a paradox in the hotel industry. Although tolerance for conventional security measures has risen in recent years, all of our guests, be they business or leisure travelers, still expect that really warm welcome when they walk into our hotels. So we have to find that balance between providing security and offering hospitality. Next to cost, travelers seem to be saying that safety and security are what they want. If we are clever, we can perhaps use this to our advantage and use it as an increasing driver for sales. And travelers' expectations of hotel security for sure can be a challenge, but really they can also prevent us with an opportunity. So what am I talking about when I'm talking about threats to hotels? Well, I've outlined some of them here for your consideration. But I would hate you to think that each one of these threats is a standalone. Threats today are not stovepiped. Threat fusion is what happens. So serious and organized crime often supports terrorism and uses cyber to enable that crime. Activists can work in league with cyber criminals, and even petty criminals can use someone who's already working in your hotel to help them gain access. And so it goes on. I wanted to look quickly at just a couple of the threats I've outlined, perhaps the ones that are at the front of our minds. Serious and organised crime is said by the National Crime Agency in the UK to be one of the greatest threats to the UK's national security. Now, if that's a fact, it's probably going to have an impact on us all. And when we look at terrorism, we all know that the traditional targets for terrorism have upped their game. They've increased their security. I'm thinking of airlines and government properties. And therefore, they've managed to deter attacks, push them away. Terrorists are now looking for civilian targets. They want to instill fear. They want to damage economies. And they want to even damage our way of life. So, in today's climate, I would say terrorists and criminals of any level, they're like water. They look for the easiest route or the path of least resistance to achieve their aims and to cause maximum damage. So perhaps in that climate today, they could view hotels as convenient targets. Now, if they do, what is the impact upon us in the industry? Well, operational, financial, and reputational. And I think of these like piano keys. Play them one at a time, play them all together. One or all of the aspects of business could be affected by the crises or incidents caused by the threats that we've just seen. And you have to think, if even only one of our hotels gets hit, potentially every hotel of that brand could be affected. You know, if we're really honest with ourselves, crime and terrorism make us scared. Imagine you're in a hotel lobby. A gunman enters and begins to shoot people around you. You are going to be frightened. You're going to feel that the situation is just out of your control. But what if you had a plan? What if you knew there are only 3 things you can do in that situation? You can run away. That's the preferred course of action. Run. If you can't escape, you should try to hide. And if the gunman comes upon your hiding place, there really is only one thing left to do, and that is to fight. So if you're ever in a situation where there's an active shooter, you should try to run, hide, or fight. And now you have that plan. Imagine if you can activate that plan. You can start to gain back some control. You can start to feel your panic subsiding and function better in order to survive. Well, you know, that's the same for all of our hotel teams. We need to have a plan. We need to take control of situations so that we can make our hotels safer for our guests and for our own hotel teams. In IHG, we do have a plan. And it looks like this. We work to a system. Prevent, prepare, respond, and recover. And like your grandmother always told you, prevention is better than cure. And the prevention phase of this system is about identifying the foreseeable events and then deciding on how you're going to manage them. And your aim should be preventing these risks from occurring and to avoid them completely. And if you can't, knowing how you're going to put in place your risk mitigation. Now, you can prevent all you like, but you have to be really lucky to avoid crises and incidents 100% of the time. So you have to prepare for when your prevention methods just don't work. This is all about preparing for delivery of the cure. This is where you plan who will do what, with which resources, and when. And you'll make sure your crisis plans are understood by training your teams and carrying out exercises. And I'll tell you, I promise you, preparation before an incident will help you hugely in the recovery phase. And it really is worth the investment of your time and resources to get this right. I'm going to tell you about what happened to one of our hotels to explain why it's so important to prepare well. And actually, you know, this isn't about a terrorist or criminal event. It's about a natural catastrophe. So you can see that this system can be used to deal with a security incident or perhaps a safety incident. And I'm sure all of you will remember Hurricane Katrina. We have a general manager in New Orleans, and she had developed her crisis management plan, which included what to do in the event of a hurricane, because she saw that a hurricane was a foreseeable event in her region. When Hurricane Katrina was forecast in 2005, our general manager had already procured wood to board up her hotel, and she'd made her team practice how to do it, so they knew what to do. And as a result, our general manager was able to safeguard her property from the looters and the storm, and really crucially was able to take care of her team, because once she had her property boarded up, she could send her team home to be with their families. And you can't imagine the loyalty that engendered, that her plan had taken them and their families into account. So what I'm saying here is that wasn't some dusty old crisis plan on a shelf. Our GM had really prepared well. She got the materials in to enact her plan. Can you imagine once Hurricane Katrina had been forecast, how much wood there was in the store to board up your home or your business? None. She'd got it already in place and practiced it with her team. So the upshot was our hotel was able to recover really quickly and get back to business. Okay, something has happened and now you need to respond. And in most cases, I would say your response is crisis management. And crisis management is like being in a 100-meter race. When that starting pistol goes off, bang, your opponent is going to be off like a shot, and it's your aim to catch up, overtake, and take the lead in that race. If you fail to prepare, it will be like you're still in the changing room, you're still lacing up your running shoes. You'll make it so much easier for yourself if you respond effectively and win the recovery race, if you are already on the starting block, and you do that by preparing beforehand. In IHG, crisis management is a team game. We have a crisis owner, yes, and what we do is the crisis owner needs to have the financial and operational authority to resolve the crisis. But we keep that ownership as low as we possibly can. We don't escalate that high for the sake of it. And they're supported by the crisis coordinator, pulls in the rest of the crisis management team and makes it function. This crisis team structure is at the very heart of our crisis management response in IHG, and our teams love it. Indeed, the people who make up our crisis management teams have actually evolved the system themselves, and they're using it now. We haven't asked them to, they're just doing it. They're using it now. If they sense something on the horizon that's a potential crisis, they put together their teams, figure out their decision points and what they're going to do to stop this event becoming a crisis. And I've asked myself, why do our teams love this process so much? Well, I'll tell you, it's simple, it's really easy, everybody gets it. But also, at the beginning of any crisis, you don't feel you've got control. You don't have all the information that you want. You are desperate to help our owners, our hotels, our colleagues in the hotel, and it's a very anxious time. It can be overwhelming. So in this crisis management team, what you have are your trusted colleagues. Every idea is okay. It can all be out on the table for everybody to see, and you resolve the crisis together. So nobody is expected to resolve a crisis by themselves. On to recovery. That's all about people, your processes in operation, your money, your market recovery, bricks and mortar, and reputation. Reputation can be so much more difficult to rescue than all of the other aspects of your business. Even if you've done nothing wrong, the court of public opinion can do significant damage to your business. Reputation is as much about perception as it is about the truth. Ethics and trust really matter. Doing the right thing as part of your routine business can help you because you'll build up goodwill and you can draw on that during challenging times. And I'd also like to say about reputation, it's ironic, but if you handle a crisis really well, you can actually enhance your reputation. And so when we come back to this recovery piece, your speed of recovery can be enhanced if you prepare well beforehand. Implementation of an effective recovery plan supported by your preparation and your really great response can be the difference between ruining or rescuing a brand reputation. So look, if I want you to take anything away from today, it would be prepare. We all know poor planning and preparation leads to poor performance. Be interested in security and crisis management because these are key functions of any business. And do the right thing. You can build up capital in the bank of reputation and you can draw on it when something goes wrong and challenges appear. Now, I want to finish by showing you a really heartwarming film about the Intercontinental Phoenicia in Beirut. This hotel of ours sustained significant damage in 2005 when a car bomb was detonated close by. You're going to see the damage done to the hotel. You'll also see the whole hotel team pulling together to repair the hotel and how beautiful it looks today. I spoke with Pascal Gauvin, who is one of our senior operators in IMEA. He was the general manager at the time of the attack. And he said, if I can send a message to IHIF, it would be always prepared for the most unpredictable event to happen. This is a really uplifting story about a hotel team that really was prepared and helped their hotel to recover from a crisis. Let's take a look.
Thank you, Helen. I think after your presentation, we'll all sleep a little easier in our intercontinental beds this evening. That was until on Friday when I discovered that the British Foreign Office has issued a heightened alert for Germany because the threat level they feel is insufficient to deal with perhaps a major alert which will take place at a major event in the next couple of weeks. I hope I don't empty the room. But how would this hotel have reacted to that type of increase in alert status?
Well, Michael, these kind of alerts are bread and butter to our teams. And I would say that we have a central team which monitors all alerts and assesses them. And this hotel in particular has a fabulous security team which performs very well. So our systems are very flexible. We can dial up according to threat or scale it back when we need to. So without going into specifics, I will tell you that yes, there is additional security for this event, but this hotel is absolutely used to dealing with big events, with VIPs, with heads of state. So I'm very confident to be here.
Great. Okay, and I won't ask for a show of hands of how many terrorists in the audience because I don't think we'll get many. But after the recent and very tragic attacks in Paris, in Tunisia, in Mali, in Egypt, and Turkey, and so it goes on. Has there been a sea change in the way in which hotels have reacted?
You know, that's a really good question, but although these recent events are very much at the forefront of our minds, what I'd say to you is that IHG is a big company. It works over 100 countries and territories, and we're used to this kind of event, sadly. Again, our systems are really flexible. And I know that every hotel in Paris does not want to have a full Monty security alert on every day. They need to be able to react when required to do so and be at that normal, welcoming hotel when they need to do so. So I know in Paris on that night that every hotel will have had a crisis management plan in place, that will have enacted that crisis management plan. And one of the first things they will do when something like that is going on in a city, because that was a big city event, not just a one location event, is that they will lock down their hotel. They will secure their perimeters and make sure that the people inside their hotels are safe. And they were supported by the central security team too.
I made the point to you before the conference that, as a reaction to all of this, many potential guests may think that hotel brands, especially the big international brands, are a magnet for the terrorists. And that's why maybe staying in a smaller, unidentified hotel or even in Airbnb was a safer option. And you had an immediate reaction to that.
Well, I really do think that the branded hotels, like IHG, have a good security system in place. It starts with the intelligence gathering. We do that all the way from our hotels. We teach them how to network on the ground. We also have commercial intelligence providers, and we work with OSAC, the Overseas Council, which is plugged directly into the American Department of State. So what I'd say to you is that we can see threats on the horizon. We have a good system in place. Hotels know how to react. And I certainly feel very safe in branded hotels which have got the wherewithal to protect us. And I know that we have brand safety standards across the board which every hotel must abide by, and we check that. So I know there is a baseline for safety and security in our hotels, and I'm confident in that.
Right. You talk about intelligence gathering. Do you screen guests?
I wouldn't say that we screen guests, but we certainly know the type of guests who would come into our hotel. Right. We know the profiles who would use our hotel, for instance, a beach holiday in a resort, a business hotel, and we do know who stands out.
Okay. And do you share information with others, both in the hotel sector and civic authorities and municipal bodies?
You know, guests must expect privacy, but we do share information on threats. So I wouldn't say if somebody came into our hotel, I would share that detail with anyone else, far from it. But we absolutely do share information on threats, and we have a group of people from the industry who get together. In fact, they're together this week, and they will talk about threats because we see the industry as one. An attack on one brand is an attack on us all.
And you said in your presentation that good security is a driver for sales.
Yes, I would say so.
The right level of messaging, because obviously alerting people to the fact that there are security issues that are being taken care of is also a put-off in some respects, but on the other hand, gives reassurance. What's the right balance?
Well, I'll tell you where we see a lot of this work is mainly with our corporate clients, because they have a duty of care when they're sending their staff and colleagues out to our hotels. And normally they will engage with us and ask us about our systems and our standards, and it's there that they can take comfort that we have a good system in place. And I think we do quite well during that process.
Well, I think Intercontinental is to be congratulated because under Helen's mentorship, you've got your act together. I only hope all other hotel groups sitting in this audience and outside are doing similar, and will take some good example from what you've explained and showed us. Thank you, Helen.
Thanks, Michael.